That's what I'm gonna turn into that guy.
You're
Sticky
not
notes
already
everywhere.
that guy?
No, look, I don't have. I have this. I don't have.
Which you were supposed to make bigger.
I figured I've got another day out of it because there's some updates. So,
Right.
But anyway, yeah, we're here. It's WITW. It's about 15 minutes after 8 o'clock. It's Tuesday, and we're blessed with a Testimony Tuesday visitor this morning.
I'm so
who
excited.
I just started to call Janet.
Right.
I didn't just start to call. Actually,
But
I
you
started to call her
did.
Janet, and then I called her Janice, which is very close to Kelly.
Very close.
I mean,
right.
it's like the
J
next
comes
word out
right
of your
before
mouth.
K.
Right, H-I-J-K. You're right. Yeah, I had to do a quick alphabet check there because it didn't sound right to me either.
Wow.
So yeah, I'm not sure.
Did you sleep a lot last night?
I did not sleep a lot last night.
Oh, okay.
I went the other way, and I don't know
Gotta
how
tip
it
those
happened.
Scales.
I didn't do that either because that's frightening right now
I'm
as
there
well.
with you.
Staying away from that.
We gotta hold each other
mechanism at this
accountable.
point. Yeah, Tiny and I are going to start walking.
Really?
We're going to do.
That'll be
By the way, Tiny,
a visual.
I got a text from him yesterday. He's having an issue with his elbow and had to have it drained yesterday, and so
yuck.
we didn't get him
Thanks for the
on
warning.
our prayer list for the morning. Oh, yeah. We need a little
Sorry,
disclaimer.
Tiny. Right.
This is a PG-13 show this morning based on graphic language, and actually it may end up being, but anyway, yeah. So he texted me yesterday, but he's heard me talk about struggling with needing to do something, and so we're out in Wanata on Wednesday, and so we're going to do our worship at church on Wednesday, starting at 5:30.
Worship in Wanata.
Worship
That's
in
very
Wanata on
phonetically
Wednesday,
friendly.
right?
Oh, on Wednesday.
And then
I
we're
like
going to
it.
do a walk around Wanata on Wednesday after our worship. Worship and walk. That's what we're going to do.
Huh.
Worship, walk, Wanata. That's our
On
Wednesday.
Wednesday.
Exactly.
Awesome.
So that's our plan. We're going to start this week. So if anybody's out,
That's
wants
tomorrow,
to either
by the way,
walk or
just
that's
in
tomorrow.
case you
Right, I
didn't
know.
know.
I have to dress accordingly.
Because Wednesday comes after Tuesday.
Just like K after J, right?
Exactly.
It's all related. But yeah, so that's going to be our new Wednesday thing. At least while the
Cool.
weather's nice, because it's plenty daylight for the next couple of months. So we'll be walking around Wanata, get to know the town a little bit more, and try to engage just a little bit more.
I think you should carry a compass.
I have one on my phone.
Okay.
So it's not. Wanata's pretty straightforward. The roads are fairly straight and they cross parallelly. I can do that, can I?
You just did.
But we'll see. We're gonna give it a wing.
A wing?
A wing. We're gonna wing walk in on Wednesday at
What?
Wanata. Yeah, we're gonna give it a shot.
Winging it? You
We're
mean?
gonna wing it.
Is
yeah.
that what you were trying
Yeah.
to? You were reaching for that one.
No, it actually just came out. I wasn't reaching at all.
Okay.
Anyway, so I just started to call. I just went back to my own. But Kelly joins us this morning, and our friend Justin Savage goes to church with Kelly.
Yes.
And we've been contacting. He spoke at Jim Norris's church a couple weeks back.
Wait, Justin
Savage,
did
was the person that came in a couple weeks
Tuesday.
back, right?
Okay,
couple weeks,
I remember.
a few weeks. Actually, it's a couple months back now, probably.
Really?
One of our
Couple
early
months?
Testimony Tuesdays. Yeah.
Yikes.
He's like one of our first Testimony
That
Tuesdays,
makes
like
me
from the
feel
outside.
old, like from a show perspective.
Wow.
I love when that happens. It's very rare that you can kind of trip RG up in such a way that he has to
Has
take
to
it back
stop
for a
and
moment.
yeah.
That's okay today. I'm
Breathe.
Janice.
That's
Yeah.
right. He just likes the letter J.
Maybe that's what I was thinking. I was thinking I had Justin on my head, trying to think of all the things I was trying to remember. But regardless, it was.
Wait, there's
you
something
can't try
there.
to explain.
You're trying to think of all the things
I
you were
know.
trying to
You can't-
remember.
You can't. I can't possibly justify what goes on in my head
So anyway, we have Kelly.
or explain. So Kelly's here.
Good morning, Kelly.
And so
Good morning.
Kelly and Justin know each other from Valpo-Naz.
Correct.
And
yes.
and so as we've been talking about bringing in some different people for Testimony Tuesday, Justin contacted me last week and said, Kelly be a great gal to come in and talk about her testimony. So
No pressure.
no pressure at all. We welcome you in and tell us a little bit about who you are, where you're from Valpo originally. How have you gotten to be here?
Actually, I grew up in the Portage area.
Okay.
But I was born at Valparaiso Hospital locally. So
Okay.
came back this way when
There
I
you
got
go.
married. And we've been here for 7 years around that time.
Okay.
And started going to VNC and We have twins who are 4.
Oh, that's fun.
Oh,
and
wow.
in the
4.
process of building a home right now. So,
The twins
busy.
are? They got that much energy usually.
Lincoln
twins,
Logs, are they, or Legos?
Oh, we have Lincoln Logs and Barbies.
Yeah. Oh, really?
Oh.
Interesting combo.
Both.
So you're building a house here in Valpo? That's
We
good
are.
to hear.
Yes.
Good to hear
So
that
we're-
someone's building. It's always good to hear that the building process is starting again in
Right.
our little
We're
town.
trying to give back to the community.
There you go.
Awesome.
Yeah, that's a big help. And then you attend Valpo Naz. Now you use the term tribe
Yes.
as the whole family of Valpo Naz.
I would say so
Okay.
because we're all interconnected
Okay.
somehow. And
So
yeah.
interchangeable with flock, maybe?
Maybe. Yeah. That sounds
Or
good.
congregation or family
Body.
or something like that. Body of, yeah. But there's also a series of groups that I've gotten to know people are members of at Valpo as I've talked to different people there. And they've done some pretty extravagant things. I know Justin talked about the walk through the desert that he did with a group of guys.
Oh,
And there's
yeah.
different groups that do different things, mission groups and things of that nature too.
Incredible things going on at VNC right
Yeah,
now. Yeah.
absolutely. So how did you and Justin get to know each other? Just through the course of churching?
Well, that and I'm really good friends with his wife. I consider her one of my closest friends. And
Okay.
she helped me accomplish one of my lifelong goals. I wanted to run a 5K, and it's kind of hard when you have a walker.
Yeah.
So we started training. We got a group from the tribe together. There's about a group of 10 of us that got together, and we did the ringing in spring last year.
Oh,
and
excellent.
we came in dead last, but we accomplished my goal. I had double pneumonia, and I had lung capacity of 36%, but we did it. We accomplished it. We had fun doing it.
Pretty much
pretty
blows my
intense.
excuses of
Right.
doing anything
Yeah.
out of the water. Of not doing anything out of the water.
It was a fun time. And then I went straight to the hospital after that.
Oh, really? Had you warned them prior to the? I may be coming to visit you here in a little bit.
Oh, yeah. Most people accomplish something. They go to Disney World. I
Right,
said,
yeah.
well, we're going to Minnesota
going
to the
to
hospital.
Florida. Oh, you went to like the big hospital. You went to like Mayo.
big hospital, yeah.
Oh, okay. You
Drove
didn't just.
8 hours away right afterwards and got strict. Yeah, I wasn't supposed to be running it, but my doctors gave me permission to do it.
Oh, they did.
Because they knew it was my lifelong goal. I'd been training for
Aw.
15 years. And yeah, so I got to do it and then went straight to the hospital and got better
Wow.
after that. So.
Oh, okay. So this was
fun
something you
times.
put on your calendar, regardless of what your condition was.
Oh,
you were
yeah, I was going to do it no matter
You're
what.
just gonna do.
And we did it.
Wow,
So
that's
I
awesome.
need some of that.
Yeah.
That stick.
And here we are touting the fact we're going to walk around Wanata.
Right.
It's not even a 5K. I mean, I think you could walk all the way around Wanata, and it would be a K, maybe. I don't know. Maybe just over a K. I don't know.
it'd be a stick.
Yeah, it would be just the long part of the K, just the one part, just
Yeah.
one. It'd just be a random one.
It's a leg.
I, something like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's that pretty much. I'll put that on the wall then as my inspiration for getting out and
thank
doing.
you.
Then, yeah. So.
Well, you said that was always it was on your bucket list,
Correct.
and you look pretty young.
I am. Well,
have a
I'm
bucket
not
list.
too young. I'm 34, but I think I had my midlife crisis when I was 14.
Oh.
Wow.
So, yeah, I had grew up like most kids do, you know, you go to school and stuff, but something was a little off with me because every time I go to school, I would get sick. So I constantly lived at the doctor's office and no one knew why. I constantly was coughing and kids would mock my cough. And
Aw.
so we always thought like, oh, Kelly just has bronchitis again, or Kelly has asthma, or Kelly has pneumonia, or, you know, not pneumonia, but, and my mom must have knew something was wrong because she had taken me to the doctor after doctor, and the same doctor kept saying that I had bronchitis or asthma or whatever. And then finally, she took me to a different doctor and they started doing asthma testing screening and allergy screening. And one of the tests they do before they do all those testing is the sweat chloride test, which is a test to see if you have cystic fibrosis. And the doctor said, oh, there's no way. She looks very healthy. You know, there'd be other signs. And well, lo and behold, on May 13th, I'm sitting in the doctor's office and I'm only 10 years old. And the doctor looks at me and says, you have cystic fibrosis. And I say my childhood ended that day because there's only two parts of my life before I knew I had CF and then after CF. And then the first question I said is, am I going to die? And he looked at me, he says, well, we're going to make you as healthy as we can for as long as we can. Well, little did I know, they told my parents not to plan for college or to plan for anything, but to plan for a funeral. Wow. So it was then I started the determination to set goals and accomplish them and do all I could to set out to do what I can as long as I can So I then strictly, went right into that world, into my hospital world. When most kids were going to summer camp, I was going to Children's Hospital for my summer, spending weeks at a time and getting to know other kids with cystic fibrosis, and not really realizing that that wasn't the norm, because that was my norm.
Right.
And so I entered quickly into a world of oxygen masks and IVs and taking over 72 pills a day, and just going from a world of playing on the playground to going into the world where you're seeing your best friends dying before your eyes. I mean, literally, it's an eye-opener. And I remember I was probably about 12 years old, and I was in the hospital again. I had just lost my first CF friend. And I'm looking at the hospital, and I'm seeing all these kids. And at first it's fun because you see all the video games and you see the celebrities coming in and spending time with kids. And that was so exciting. And then you're seeing right before your eyes the person that you were playing with, you came back to find out they passed away. And reality sets in. And so it was that moment, I think I was in the hospital room and my IV had just blown. And I said, I can't take this anymore. God, if you just let me live, there's so many things I want to do in my life. And if you let me live, please just let me live. And then I promise I'll let everyone know that you've healed me. So that I went on with my life. And, every year I go into the hospital, and every year I get better. And then if you ask me what I want to do, I'd always say I wanted to get married and I want to have a family. And the doctors will look at me like, people with CF don't have kids. People with CF, those are too high of goals or whatever. So I always believed in my heart that God had a lot of purpose for my life. I just didn't know what that was. So I started writing love letters to my future husband, not knowing that I could give him 50 years of marriage. But if I couldn't grow old with him, I knew that I could grow up through my journals. In his eyes, I could show him what it meant to grow up before
Kelly,
him.
how old were you when you started?
I started
this process?
journaling when I was 14.
Wow.
And so you have to understand, when you have a diagnosis such as cystic fibrosis, you live your life in fast motion. I ended up graduating early from high school. I graduated with honors really quick from college. I was on a fast pace to get everything I wanted to do done, because I remember when I was 19, and that was the magical date that they said that we wouldn't survive to, I would open up the refrigerator and I would see the expiration date on the milk jug. And I'd be like, I've made it one more day. Well, I made it past the expiration date on this milk jug. And most of my friends were like going on dates and like going and, talking about, I have this test in college I don't want to go for. And I was like, I'm going to live long enough to make it to the test on Friday, And so I remember I started writing love letters, not knowing who I was writing to, but just writing these love letters to my future husband, and just praying that God would intercede and somehow God would do a miracle and I could live out my dreams of having a family and, getting married. And so I went off to college, got, dated somebody in high school for about 5.5 years. We broke off that, and I was devastated. And so through a series of events, I met this gentleman who told me that God told him I was supposed to be his wife. And so I'm like, well, I guess this is the person God wants for me. And so
Wait, where did you meet this guy?
Through a pastor at another church, yeah. And through a series of events, it was a very fast-paced relationship, which everything in my life is fast-paced. We ended up getting married, and basically 4 months later, I was living in and out of the hospitals, and 4 months later, I came home to a Dear John letter. And I was just devastated. This gentleman who, said that God told him I was supposed to marry him and stuff, and then he just took off and left, and I can't deal with a wife that's sick. So it was that moment I was just devastated. Everything I'd ever wanted. I'd been writing love letters to my future husband. I was like, God, you know what? My dreams were just shattered. I mean, here I have all these letters, and I've been preparing and praying, and I knew that when I only wanted to get married one time in my life, I didn't want, this divorce and everything. So through a series of events that happened, I was completely broken. I no longer wanted to get married because I already did that thing, and was devastated. And so through a series of events, a few months later, I had met my now husband, who we just started out as friends. And I remember I started developing feelings for him, and I'm like, I can't do this because I've already done that thing, and it didn't end up working out. And I have all these letters still that my first husband never even read because he was so selfish and into himself. And I thought we were in a Christian marriage, and so then I remember my husband Scott came and he said, we were just friends, and I started having these feelings for him. Like, how could I just have these feelings for him? And I don't want to have these feelings for him, but every time I'd have those feelings, I'd say, well, God, I'm praying for his future wife, not knowing that that future wife was me. And so I remember my husband said to me, I just want you to know that I'm praying that God shows me how to love you the way that he loves you, not the way of a lustful love. And so I said, well, there's no possible way, because if you ever want to end up with me, you'd have to see me at my sickest. And so a few months go by, and I'm getting sick, and I'm coughing up blood, and I feel this person patting me on the back and holding my hair back. And I thought it was my mom, because I was living with my mom at the time. And I looked back, and it was Scott, and he had tears in his eyes. He's like, well, God finally answered my prayer, because now I know how to love you the way that he loves you, because I would give you my lung if I could, to keep you around for as long as I can. So then we got engaged on the property we built our house on, and thought finally this is what God wanted for our lives. And well, we got married and moved into the home. We were told right away, if we wanted to have a family, go ahead and try, but you probably won't get pregnant or whatever. So we went through IVF to try to get pregnant. And I remember we put 2 embryos in, and they said the chances of both of them taking is less than 5%. There's no possible way. And so lo and behold, what happens? Both the embryos take. And so we're rushed into a room told to abort one, because there's no way that I'm going to survive, because nobody with CF that they knew of had ever survived a twin birth.
Wow.
And so me and my husband believed that God had a purpose for these children. And so every week we go back, and they'd say, well, it's 2 now, but one will probably disappear, the disappearing twin. You're not gonna survive this, it'll be 1 or whatever. So then at 34 weeks, I was so sick, and I'd only gained 22 pounds at the time with the twins. And I'm pretty small to begin with. And I couldn't breathe. And it was devastating for my family, because the day we walked in to deliver the babies, my husband knew he was bringing home 2 babies, but he was told not to expect to bring home his wife.
Oh, wow.
Gracious.
And so we delivered the twins, and the first thing that the doctor yells out is, she's okay. And so I remember the night before.
Not it's a boy, it's a girl.
No, she's okay.
Awesome.
So we took the babies home, and the flood water started coming in. I mean, the hurricane started rumbling, and I should say, 6 months after we brought the twins home, I was overdosed by a mistake by a doctor at a different hospital that shouldn't have given me this dose. And I lost complete balance. It destroyed my inner ears, so that I had overcome my illness per se. And now I had to learn to walk with a walker. I couldn't bathe my children anymore. I couldn't do these things. So I felt that I wasn't adequate as a mom, because I was no longer able to do those things. And so they said I would never be able to run again with my walker or anything. And so I was determined. And so we had people from the tribe, VNC, came in and helped with taking care of the babies while I was sick, and trying to recover from this new paralysis. And then 6 months after that, what really was devastating for us is that the brand new house that we had built and got engaged on that property, mold started getting into the walls. They didn't put flashing in properly with our other home, and I started coughing up cups of blood, and basically in and out of the hospital for months and months and months. We didn't know what was wrong, and it was determined that mold was growing in my lungs now from the home that we did. So we left with nothing but the clothes on our back. We shut the door. We kept our mortgage going for 3 years. We prayed and knew that God was going to do something. And looking into the windows, you saw these car seats, and you saw the playpen, and you saw bottles in the sink, like someone was leaving for the day. And to come back, and the kids were 3 years old, and we're still looking in the windows, and this house is just useless. And so we ended up rebuilding our lives and stuff. And through it all, God has really ministered to my heart that, yes, getting married was something that I want to do, but my husband couldn't be my all. And through a series of different people that came through my life, from being a little girl at the hospital to being able to go through this thing with my health and being able to trust God for every aspect of our lives, I've realized that our histories, whatever it may be, is his story. And we can either use it for his glory, or we could use it to basically feel sorry for ourselves. So it's just been such an honor to know God's plan unfolding, even though when we couldn't see the whole picture.
Yeah.
You know?
That's pretty incredible. And it's still
unfolding.
Yeah.
Right.
That's
Right.
what's so now how old are your twins now? You said 4?
They are now 4.
Okay.
Yeah. They were born 2 days after Christmas. So it was our Christmas miracle that year.
Yeah, I would say.
And their names are?
Any level.
Cameron and Alexis.
Are they listening this morning?
I hope so. I mean, they're probably more intrigued with cartoons right now than this.
4-year-olds, tough just to have attention on voice only. Though they probably recognize mom's voice a little bit. Though when my kids hear my voice, they're like, "That's not you. That's not you, is it really?" Yeah.
Is that in a good way or?
I don't know. I think that there's just enough mechanical reproduction that they don't recognize it as my voice. So, well, and so then, as you said, you've started creating a bucket list as you've gone through things and accomplished at least one that we know of, and well, a couple. Now
2,
you started a family, and
Yeah.
and
I don't believe in putting limitations on your life.
Yeah.
I have ran every day for the past 15 years, and learning how to run with your walker is very hard to do because everything bounces when you walk. And so you're holding on to something, but I mean, I could run a mile now in 11:03 maybe.
Holy macaroni.
it's faster than I
What?
could run.
That's
I don't think. Yeah, I
wow.
don't think
I'm not even trying to run right now. Like,
But it's funny when you start doing it and you stop doing it, you feel it even more. So it's like a drug that you have to get it, you know? And for me, my mucus is so thick that it's part of my regimen of feeling good. Like I'm in the hospital and I'll have an IV hanging out of my chest and I have to run on their little machines over there just so that I can be functional for the day. You know, I think a lot of people don't realize how much they take for granted, but a lot of people look at you and they're like, "Oh, you're so brave." And it's like, but that's the only world that you've ever known. You know, that's your normal, you know?
Right.
So
I get that.
I mean, this came about at. I mean, you were faced with this at a very early age. At what point were you able to? Because again, I think there's a huge leap at an early age to try to understand all that God is, even though we don't really understand all what God is. But that God has a role in your life. How did you blend those things that early in your life?
Well,
What was your experience growing up that put that out there for you to dig into?
it was so weird because when most kids were playing on the playgrounds, I remember I would ride my bike up to the nursing home because I was fascinated. Even before I knew I had CF, I was fascinated by old people in wrinkles. I thought they were the most beautiful people because they had stories. And I remember when I would ride up my bike to this nursing home as a little girl, there was this elderly couple who would dance to Let Me Call You Sweetheart. I'll never forget him. His name was Joe Cardinelli. And he loved his wife so much that he would bathe her and she'd fight with him. And, you know, she had Alzheimer's and she didn't know who he was. And he says, "I love her because God loved me first." And I got to see God through this little old man showing his love to his wife. And it fascinated me that he was so dedicated to her. And, you know, throughout growing up, my mom would read me Bible stories out of the Bible and stuff, but they didn't become real to me until I was up at that children's hospital. And I was seeing the same friends that I was playing with dying of the same thing that I was fighting for. And, you know, I still to this day get very sad and lonely when I'm in the hospital. You know, CF is it's a disease that abandons you from your life because you have to be away from your family and your friends and you're 8 hours away and you don't know anybody. And so what I have found is that in my weakness, he has been made stronger because instead of asking God, can you please heal me? Those people in the Bible that were healed, like Lazarus and all those people, what happened to them? They eventually died. 100 out of 100 people die eventually.
Right.
And it's not, it's not like my story isn't about being healed. It's about what God can do through somebody, through the circumstances that you are dealt with. Some of my greatest ministering opportunities have been when I've been 8 hours away from home. One instance, if I can share it, One was when I was up at Minnesota, and I'm sitting in this garden, and I'm just crying because I miss Scott, and I miss my kids so much, and I miss my family and my church family, and I have nobody to give me Kleenex, just soft Kleenex, the little things that you take for granted in a hospital. The hospital ones are as hard as can be.
Right.
And I'm sitting in this garden, and I'm sobbing, and I don't know anybody there. And this little old lady comes up to me and brings me into her church, because there was a church right there on the hospital parking lot grounds. Brings me into this church, and I'm crying, and she brings me soft Kleenex, and I just start sobbing, and she doesn't understand why I'm sobbing. And I said, but you don't understand. Nobody has brought me anything, and I need certain things that I can't get, and I don't know how to get to them because I don't know my way around here. Well, she started coming to my hospital room and bringing me stuff and just loving on me. And I didn't realize, I kept telling her, but there's so many other CF patients out there in this world that have to be far away from their families. You know what? It's because of your kindness. I'm going to start a care package program for other people with CF. So through the races that I've done and through different things that we've done, we've raised enough money to where we're putting together care packages for CF patients all across the United States. So we've given out over 400 care packages filled with stuff like soft Kleenexes and toiletries and stuff that you don't get from a hospital, and just realizing that God has a plan even in the midst of our sorrows. I mean, you could be at your weakest point in a hospital room, and God will send somebody like a nurse that needs prayer for, or a respiratory therapist who's had a rough day. And, you know, if you could just show them kindness, and if the only thing that you can do is show somebody a smile when they walk into your hospital room, and find out that through the series of just smiling with them, and then they come back and they tell you their whole heart story. If you can just listen to somebody, you may not have any money in the world, but if you can listen to somebody, that's the greatest thing that you can do for someone, by showing them Christ. And that's what I've been able to possibly do when I'm at my weakest.
That's incredible. That's awesome. Now, so you said you just mentioned running and raising. Do you do sort of fundraising as part of your runs, or do you do other fundraising as well to help
I do
cover
other
these
fundraising.
things?
I've done fundraising in the past to help cover like the CF Foundation's walks and stuff like that. But different people hearing about the care package program, and we'll say, this month we're doing a Beanie Baby rally, and people will bring me their Beanie Babies, or I really need soft Kleenexes and gummy bears because people with CF need more calories, because we burn calories every time that we cough. And so people, you know, I'll put it on Facebook, or word will get out that I'm looking for stuff that they have in their home, or dollar store stuff to fill goodie bags for kids. And they'll bring those stuff to me, and then we're able to pack them up and send them. We've sent them to Minnesota and Illinois and Indiana. We've gone to New York with other people. I mean, we've reached about 400 people, and so we want to keep that going. So we're excited.
Do you work in conjunction with the Cystic Fibrosis Foundation, then, or you
we
work
work with the
independently?
hospitals.
You work with the hospitals directly. Okay.
Correct.
All right. Are there key hospitals that people
yes.
need to be? Because you said you have to go 8 hours away, so it's not something you just go to the local hospital to get you have treatments. You have to go.
Oh no, my husband and I have been known to travel in the middle of the night. We go all the way to Minnesota. They're the best in CF care, and their life expectancy is 10 years higher than any other center in the country. So we go to the best center that we think and we feel most comfortable with, that can treat my condition.
Wow.
But it definitely gets very lonely because you're far away from family, and
Right.
so you have to do something to keep yourself busy.
Yeah, I imagine that's not a trip that the 4-year-old twins are able to
They
make.
do it a couple times.
Do they?
And so my 4-year-old daughter says she's the princess of Minnesota. That's her country.
That's her country. It's funny. So we're talking with Kelly this morning on Testimony Tuesday. It's it's right in the middle of, it's 8:43. I was going to try to estimate the time, but it just turned 8:43. So we'll make it 8:43 on Testimony Tuesday on WITW. And Jen's here this morning.
Good morning.
And so Kelly's been sharing with us growing up and still being here. Just the miracle of being able to, for you to even be here and share this story with us is a miracle unto itself.
You begin to become thankful for every breath, even the ones that hurt.
Yeah.
Truly.
Well, there's so much to your story. I'm trying to I process things a little differently.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to rewind and go back. And I had, there are questions that will arise as you're speaking, but I don't, we don't want to interrupt as you're sharing
Right.
your story. So now I'm trying
Right.
to go back and think,
Where's
okay,
your
where do
notebook?
I
Did you
I
take your
didn't
notebook and
no,
put it
I
in the
was
other?
I didn't have a pen.
You had your you didn't have your pen in
No.
your book.
Sorry,
there?
and I went
No.
kind of fast with it. I'm
Oh, no,
sure.
that's okay. Not at all. I just, I'm trying to, as we're talking now, we have, at the end of it, we have some time here to talk
Yeah.
and ask questions. And I don't know where to start.
I know.
There are so many amazing things that you've gone through. I mean, you could have just told the story about when you found out, when you were diagnosed, and that would have been huge. And we could have unfolded that for days, in
Yes.
and
Right.
of itself. I mean, at 10 years old, that it didn't crush you, but yet, and instead strengthened you and propelled you to go further and seek a relationship with, pretty much, it sounds like you were seeking a relationship with Christ at that time.
Well, when you are so lonely and you're up at a hospital, I mean, and yeah, I think people are giving you treats and celebrities are coming to visit, but at the same time, the reality is that you're seeing the
Right.
same kids that you grew up with dying. I mean, part of me feels like I'm an old lady, a woman trapped in an old lady's body, because I've got all these memories of being growing up in a hospital, and yet I have no one to share those memories with because they're all gone. And part of me has a guilt about, I've made it this long and I'm doing so well, but it's not all roses. I mean, people can look at me and say, oh, you look so healthy, but they don't know what's going on the inside of my body,
Right.
and it's a hidden handicap at times.
Well, I think that's true for so many of us without even a medical diagnosis. I think spiritually, we look at people and we say, oh, you look wonderful.
Yes.
You look amazing. You look beautiful. You look healthy. You look handsome. You look
Yes.
happy. But yet on the inside, there's so much ugly stuff going on or turmoil and things that we can't always see.
And everybody has a CF in their life. It doesn't have to be a genetic disease that they're
Right.
born with. It could be depression. It could be battling. It could be mental illness. It could be a series of events. But it's how are you using your history to make
Right.
it his story? And are you learning and growing, or are you turning away from God? And I think, you don't need God to have a happy life. I mean, sinners are happy. You
Some of
need
them are very happy.
God the most, am I right? When things are the weakest in your life. And that's when we turn to the cross. That's when we see the shadow of the cross. And I think having CF is a reminder of how short life is. And so I am grateful. I know there's times that my husband will probably say, I'm in a bad mood a lot because I don't feel good. I don't get my sleep because I'm coughing all night. But I'm learning to be grateful for every breath, like I said, even the ones that hurt.
Well, I imagine that you have to turn heads because you're, like you said, you have this walker, or
Yes.
you're running with the walker, or whatever you're doing. I mean, you're not, as much as it's an invisible,
Yes.
it's not an obvious situation.
Correct.
You have to catch people's attention to go,
What's wrong with her?
what does she have a walker for?
And that's not part of my CF. You know what I'm saying? This happened because of a drug overdose to my inner ears.
Okay.
And I do. And
So it's
I,
more from a balance
Yes,
perspective.
especially when you're at the hospital and you're running up and down the sidewalk with a walker and an IV hanging from you. I mean, it's not like every day you see that. But
No, I don't think any day I've ever seen that. So, right.
but I think it's a great tool to use too, to say, this is what God's doing through me. I should not be running like this.
Right.
But I'm determined, and God's given me the strength, because in my weakness, He is being made stronger. Because greater is He that lives inside of me than anything else that's in this world.
Amen. Okay, I have
Awesome.
to ask.
Go ahead.
Has Scott read the letters?
He gets embarrassed though. Like my husband's very humbled. I mean, everybody who knows him knows he's a very humbled man. And I just love him to pieces because I don't know, I'm like the fire in the relationship. He's more the calming ice, And he has read some of the letters. I've now started writing letters for my children though. So my letters for them, and we've started picking out, I've already bought my children their wedding gift for when they get married, because CF may end up taking my life, but it won't take my spirit.
Right.
And so I'm very well aware that I'm buying gifts for children that I may not know. I may not know my kids who they are at 8 years old, but I know them today. And if they can get a gift on their birthday from their mom, even long after I'm gone, I know that my legacy will live on with them.
Wow. That is the organization of your mindset's pretty amazing in and of itself, because
I'm
obviously
speechless.
you're living in the
Right.
living in the moment, but you're living simultaneously in multiple levels of other points in other people's lives,
And
not
you have
your own
to.
life. Right?
And for my husband and I, we talk about death all the time. We're very aware that death happens. I mean, I've had 4 lung collapses. I've, been coughing up cups of blood. We're rushing to the hospital. I mean, we don't make plans to be at birthday parties 2 months from now, because we plan for the day. And so death is very real, so that also tomorrow is very real. Tomorrow may not mean mommy's in the picture, but Scott's very well aware of this. So we prepare the children by, I'm going to write a letter to them. Maybe I won't be there when they lose their first tooth, but I can write them a letter about what I felt like when I lost my first tooth. Or, when Alexis needs to know how to apply makeup, I'm writing her a letter and teaching her how to apply makeup. When,
that's cool.
When Cameron, I don't know nothing about throwing a curveball, but, I'm writing him a letter about my first T-ball experience. These are the letters that I'm writing my children, so that they can look back and say, wow, even though mommy's not here, mommy still loves me
And is still kind of here.
and
Yeah.
is here with me.
will be.
And so that's the kind of legacy I want to live. I think each of us have a legacy. Is our legacy going to be based on, being negative and what we never gave back to the world? Or are we going to leave our world a little better place when we're not here? Because the world will go on after we're gone.
Right. That's hard.
Right.
That in itself is a hard concept for some people to really wrap their mind around.
Yes.
I mean, there are some people that are that
yes.
self-absorbed that they don't really think about that fact.
But if you think about it, 100 out of 100 people die.
Exactly.
And even if God heals me, I'm still going to die.
Right.
You're still going to die.
Right.
We live in a dying world.
Yeah.
But we will live in a world where there's hope, and that hope's in Christ. And if we can give that legacy to our kids and to our children's children about how we were when we were here, I think everybody should pick up a pen and journal.
I think that's pretty good, solid advice.
Yeah.
Right.
That's
As a matter of fact, you've got me thinking, and I do believe I'm going to start writing letters
Good.
to my kids.
Yeah.
I mean, I write them letters, but
Yes.
just here and there. I think it's something that really needs to be a consistent. I mean, do
And
you have a schedule that you follow?
I
Do you
don't
do
have a
daily
schedule.
thing,
I
or do
usually
you-
write when I'm on my vest. I do a vest 2 times a day. It's a vibrating machine that helps me cough up my mucus secretions. And I'm on it 30 to 45 minutes 3 times a day. And so I write during those times. And like the one gift that I have purchased for the children's for their wedding was a leather bound The Love Dare, because I know that they're going to have hard times in their marriages.
Right.
So I wrapped up that for them, and I keep
I hope
telling
they're not listening now.
No,
They won't remember.
it's put away. My husband has it put away. But there's other things like,
Spoiler alert.
buying jewelry. And my little girl, I have a charm bracelet. My little girl's like, Mommy, when I grow older, I want that charm bracelet. So, there's different things that you can prepare for tomorrow by talking to your kids today about your walk with God, about what
Right.
God means to you and what your life means to them.
Have you been able to? Because I imagine there's a lot of people who, specifically with CF, know that there's who take this who take it the wrong way, the natural way.
Correct.
As humans in the world, we're put upon, and it will defeat us. Have you seen opportunities to share your testimony with others who otherwise have just given up and just can't find that hope in everything that's facing them in the world?
There's been many times, and I'd like to say that I'm the norm, but unfortunately, I'm not, because
I can't imagine that you would be. Just
Right.
knowing
No.
the human
no
reaction to things.
People dealing with death, families at the hospitals, parents in particular are very angry when their children,
Right.
and then they see you and they're like, well, you're the exception. Well, no, I deal every day with a very deadly disease. I feel like I have a time bomb going off in my chest. At any moment, I can bleed to death, and I know this, but I have the hope that there is something after this. All of us are under the law. All of us have told a lie. All of us have stealing, whatever it
Gotten
is.
speeding tickets.
All the 10 commandments. We've broken each one of those commandments. It doesn't matter if you're sick or not, if something's wrong. We all need God's grace to cover over a multitude of everything that we've done. We all need salvation.
Right.
And so my life isn't just about my CF. My life is about hope, and my hope comes from Christ. I will end this life one day. Whether it's a CF or a car accident, I'm not going to be here forever.
Right.
It's about where I'm going after today that matters.
What I tell my kids is that, I may not have a $5 million inheritance waiting for them. I don't have that, that
Yes.
financial legacy to pass on. But what I have is something worth far more than that.
Correct.
It's an eternal legacy that they will inherit from me.
And that's what they need,
Right.
Yeah.
more so than the newest bike or the...
Right. Need and want are
great-
different
yes.
at the
Right.
ages that they're at.
Exactly.
They
That's still a challenge.
they'd still like that.
And
but-
for me, I think my children, because a lot of people are like, weren't you selfish having children, knowing that you have this illness? And I think it's been such a blessing for my children, because from the age of 2, who's the child that they pick out in the nursery to play with at church? The kid who has the oxygen in his nose. Who's the kid, they know the other person.
Right.
And they know that mommy gets sick. They know mommy's lungs are sick. And so I'm growing in them compassionate young
Right.
individuals who will love a world that isn't just like them. And I could not see my world of not having them, because they're going to give so much to this world because they had a mommy that wasn't perfect.
And the reality is, no kids do. But it
Yeah.
Right.
maybe we're not as obvious about it. I mean, we try to be more than what we are, or we try to shelter kids from
Correct.
from what the reality of the world is. In a lot of cases, I know I've done that multiple times in my life at different points, where you don't want them to know all the stuff that's going on, because you would just want them to be kids.
Yes.
And so you don't let them really grow up in reality. You sort of create a false sense of reality in some cases. Now, there's times when they'll
Correct.
bump into it, but then that's kind of shocking to them. So it's
well, I
amazing
remember
you're raising them in a different way.
when the twins were about 18 months old, and my little girl saw me gasping for air, and I was so scared. I didn't want her to see that part of me. And she just walked right up to me, started patting my back, and went and got a water bottle for me and Kleenex. And they know these stuff because this is their world. And
Right.
I often would tell my husband, I don't want them to know that CF world of me. And he says, but we have to show it to them because this is our world. And so it's very normal for them to see mommy coughing. It's very normal for them to see mommy hooking up to IVs. My little girl knows how to hook up my nebulizer kit now. She could put my medicine in the cups for me. And, and she wants to be a mommy. She wants to be a nurse. She wants to take care of people. So I've been blessed with 2 great kids, and
Yeah.
I know that they're going to be more compassionate because of their mommy having an illness.
I agree. That's pretty cool.
Well, and your last name, I'm sorry, Kelly.
Asbell?
Asbell.
Asbell.
It'll take him a while.
Just off. I just
He
need
might
to write- I just gave
mispronounce it a few
oh, wait, here we
times.
go.
If he writes it down
I'm gonna write it
sometimes,
down.
he can find it.
There you go.
Janice. I'm just kidding.
Janice Asbell.
Well, we appreciate you coming in to share, and we thank
thank
Justin
you.
for helping make the connection for us. And it's awesome to have groups that you can, obviously your immediate group in your family and and your husband and your kids, and then have the larger tribe group with folks that can continue to lift you up and support you and go running with you and
Correct.
get you
It's
through
great.
that 5K.
We
So,
will listen. We will not run with you, girl. We're just keeping it real.
Yeah,
we
I don't know.
Not yet, anyway.
Yeah, I don't
It's
know.
about being real.
We'll see. We'll see what our walk around Wanata drives for. Maybe
We'll walk
Tiny
for
and
a
I
while
will
first. We'll do some
be. Yeah,
conditioning.
maybe we can get up to a 1K run.
You'll get that K in.
Yeah, we'll get that K.
I'm gonna make a bucket list.
Maybe make a 5K.
Yeah.
I'd
Do you
never
have a
really
bucket
thought.
list?
I have 2 things on my bucket list. One is to be part of the. Here's.
Uh-oh. Do we need a disclaimer?
Well, no. The Chicago to Mackinac. I always call it Mackinac. Chicago to Mackinac boat race. There's a sailboat race. So I've always been fascinated by that. My mom took us to Mackinac Island, because we called it Mackinac Island. Mackinac Island when we were very young. There's pictures of it, with us all dressed in the same outfit in our little Izod windbreakers. And so I've just always been fascinated by those 2 things. Chicago has always been, growing up close to it. It's always been there. And then there's a boat race. I've always been, for some reason, attracted to sailboating. Well, I know it's because of my dad's influence. But so this last year I thought, that's what I want to do. That's like one thing I want to do. And
You have to have more than one thing on your bucket
well,
list, I think. It's a kind
keep
of an
thinking I've
empty
got a little
bucket.
time, but I also that's that mortality thing. You start doing bucket list things when you're like, I want to make sure I do that before, But so this past year, when I mentioned that out loud, 2 people, of course, get killed in the race, and so now maybe that's not what I want to be doing, But and then there's injuries. And it wasn't. I didn't think there was that bad weather, but yeah, suddenly it's become like more challenging than I thought. First of all, trying to find somebody to let me on the boat would be step one, but then all of a sudden you have, hey, this is like serious stuff. It's not just like a casual
No, it's not just a ride.
3-day cruise.
Make sure you get an insurance policy.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, get covered first. So you have to check my insurance policy, make sure they don't mind sailing in storms or something. Those strange riders. I can't remember what the other thing was now. I just had it in my head. Now it's skipped out of my head.
You've forgotten
I don't
the other
write it
thing on your
down.
bucket
No,
list?
it's-
Like,
yeah,
how do you
there's-
forget
there's only
something
like-
on your bucket list?
Well, that's the big one. That's the big one. There was,
It's to make a bucket list.
yeah, I guess I got to make a bucket list. Yeah, I can't remember. It was a less, it was just there. Now it's skipped out of my head
I want to
because I'm
fly in
like
a hot
shocked
air
myself
balloon.
by that. Really?
Yep. Yep. Ever since I was a little girl.
You can
Fly
do
in a
that
hot air
at the Porter County Fair.
balloon. Yeah, but they don't let you all the way up. Like, I think it's
but I bet
tethered.
if you
I don't
like,
wanna- if I cried.
if
maybe
you
I cried.
bonded with one of the little pilot people, I bet there's some that you could be part of, and they'll do that. Our kids always chase them. I don't know if you've ever done that, but you like follow after once they let them go. We're talking about the Popcorn Fest balloon thing. They like the Kiwanis sponsor a balloon. I think they call it Balloon Fest.
Balloon Fest, I think, yeah.
Out at Porter County Fairgrounds, and they'll have them on the ground and they light up at night, and then, but in the evening and I think in the morning, one of the days too, they launch them if the weather conditions are appropriate. And with a balloon, you just go where the wind takes you. You don't make a plan. Okay, we're going to go to Wanata. I mean, they're like, we could go 2 fields over. I think last year the winds were so calm they didn't even go a mile from the fairgrounds.
Yeah, I totally want to fly.
But they basically just land wherever they find a spot, and then you have
I love that.
you have this huge parade of cars that chase them, and then like people get out and help collapse the balloon and get them back in the trailer and take them back. So you can just go hang out with people.
Yeah,
over there.
I think so. I need to meet
Make a
some
connection
folks with
there.
hot air balloons. Right?
Yep,
I
there's
need to
quite a few.
network. I mean, that kind of runs pretty congruently with my lifestyle. It just kind of lands wherever.
Hot air.
Oh, nice.
I was
I
just
set
trying to
myself up for that. Thanks, RG.
Hey, you bet. You really did. I mean, that was
I
like
did.
setup of all setups there. But we're chatting with Kelly Asbell of on Testimony Tuesday, I should say. Shared an amazingly powerful story, and we will have this. We'll archive it. It'll be up on our website. So if you came in late or if you hear about it later, I know Justin was able to share it with quite a few people once we've got it archived up on the website. So you can listen to Kelly's and listen to some other testimonies that we've posted up there. You're listening to WITW 93.5 LPFM,
Valparaiso.
and it is just a tick after 9 o'clock. We thank Kelly very much for coming in.
Thank you so much.
So now you say you still run,
I still run.
and it's part of a like almost therapeutic type of a thing,
Correct. It takes
but not
me-
5K. I mean, you're not running.
I run 2 miles every day.
Holy mackerel!
And it takes 23:06 to do 2 miles for me. My eventual goal is to run another 5K, but when my lungs are really winded and I've only gotten like 2 hours of sleep, I can only run like a mile and a half. So
Only run.
He's not
a mile and a
laughing
half.
at you.
I'm
I know.
laughing at my patheticness. That is.
You know what? Not everybody can be a runner.
no,
Sure. Okay. Yeah. but Some people should be at least able to walk. I mean,
I saw you across the street as I was coming in, and I was talking to Kelly. I said, I saw RG. He's just running across. I was, oh, wait. I hope
he's not running. He's just walking. Yeah, I can't run across the street. I cannot literally run across the street without having that nightmarish flashback.
do you need a walker?
I might.
You can run.
Yeah, I literally was trying to just a little jog across the street, trying to beat the light, and fell.
What's so funny is,
On my 46th birthday, I was trying to run across the street and I fell down
especially
right in the middle of the street, just rolled all over.
elderly people with walkers have walker envy. They look at my
that-
walker and they
Does
see
he
me
have a-
running and they like
Oh.
they look back like I want to run like that.
Really?
So they just have to get the walker.
Yeah. Is it like a souped up walker?
It is. It's got 3 wheels and the
Oh, you have wheels and
move.
stuff. Oh,
yeah.
okay.
It's got
Oh.
brakes too.
Nice. So you can,
Huh.
like
In case you get going.
corner
you can't
around
stop.
really
That's
fast.
right.
Yeah.
Huh.
Wow. Walker envy. That's kind of funny. I imagine that has to happen though, because you have like now they have scooters and stuff out there. You know, I'm sure there's like
Right.
the latest
Right.
greatest scooter that someone's got to have. So walkers.
Well, before we forget, I want to know if you have a specific Facebook page that people can go and like or interact with and follow and participate.
They can. Well, we're in the process of still finishing the CARE CF Facebook page, but they can always look me up at Kelly Asbell, Asbell.
Okay. And I will encourage you to use our radio page to keep us updated and send us any
Definitely.
links with any kind of care packages or that kind of stuff.
2 L's?
Yes.
That would be the BELY.
KELLYASBELL.
Yep.
There you are. We're adding you as a friend.
Well, thank you.
And then we'll link to that from the website so you can, so people can follow you along. And then as you update the,
Wonderful.
what is that phone?
That
That sounded like it was
loud.
in my headphones. I thought it was like here. I'm like, something with a
I
phone
thought, wait,
ringing. What
there's
is
no
happening?
more birds today. We have
No, we
phones.
don't have birds today. We have
I
phones
actually
ringing.
woke up thinking about that yesterday.
The chirping
because
birds?
The birds, yeah, because the birds were chirping outside my window, and they were
Oh.
nowhere near as melodious as our
Her happy little birds.
happy birds.
We didn't have the
yesterday.
crow visit this morning, so or if we did, I slept through it.
Wait, what did I see? I was watching something last night, and there was some guy talking about a bird he saw in Australia. No, kangaroos. Kangaroos, not a bird. And he said the kangaroos sounded
Natural.
like
That's like J to K there.
right.
Birds to kangaroos, really?
He said
right.
the kangaroos make this horrible noise like some kind of a dying bird. And
Wait, kangaroos make noise?
apparently,
This is shocking truth.
we'll have to ask.
Who are you going to on this? Joel Norman, because he went to
No.
Australia?
No, baby. Nope, never mind. I can't think of his name. That's horrible. I have only had one cup of coffee. That's my disclaimer.
Somebody you know that has kangaroos or knows kangaroos?
From Australia. Nathan.
Oh, Nathan.
Nathan. Sorry, Nathan.
I'm like trying to think of
Yikes.
who do we know from Australia. I couldn't even think of anybody we know from Australia.
All I can, I don't, never mind. Okay, the kangaroos.
You're right.
The kangaroos.
Nathan's from
Yeah,
Australia.
yes. But the kangaroos, so they make.
They're from
supposedly-
Australia, too.
Thank
Right?
you
You've
for the
got, you know, you're
confirmation.
connected. It's all
All right,
there.
It's cohesive.
It's
right?
all there. It makes
Okay.
sense on some level.
I'm getting there. So the bird, or the kangaroo, makes this dying bird sound. I don't know when, but at some point in their existence. And this guy who was a musician, I don't know, it was some kind of award show or something I caught the end of. And he says, "Caw!"
It's just this noise I was making for
yesterday.
our crow yesterday.
Right. And if you didn't hear the show yesterday,
Lucky you.
right, that made no sense at all. But if
No,
you did
right.
hear the show yesterday,
Yeah, I was trying to
then that's quite
imitate
funny.
the crow outside of my window at 5:15 yesterday morning. So,
But-
well, the window was closed. Maybe he realized that he wasn't going to waste his breath.
Maybe.
So, could be. Yesterday was the day that Cliff listened to the show, though.
Yeah, great.
So, me making crow sounds. It's the day
That's
that Cliff
awesome.
listened. So, fun times. So, well, thank you very much, Kelly. As we said, we'll put this up on the website and let us know how we can continue to help promote what you're doing, the care packages and stuff. We really appreciate you taking time and sharing your story. We thank Justin for making the arrangements to get you here today.
Thank you.
Thanks. So, Kelly
Asbell.
Gosh, I started to go like Narnia. Like I was going to go
What?
lion. What's the name of the lion in
Aslan.
Aslan? See, that's where I started to go. there.
Aslan.
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 Something like that. I don't remember. So, but Kelly Asbell, thank you very much for joining us this morning and sharing on Testimony Tuesday. So we hope that good luck with everything. Thank you. And we, as we get ready to wrap up here this morning, we have, it was an interesting day yesterday. We were talking. Where were we talking? Over cake, maybe yesterday. About you want to grab that door? Okay. About but we were talking about the fact that we have a number of folks that we've been praying for with infants in various situations. And so yesterday we got an update on Abram, who is down at Riley Hospital and has come through surgery okay. Has actually been moved to a different room and is, I guess, stable as you can be in that situation. I was like, she just jogged across the street.
I missed it.
Yeah, I'm just like, oh, well.
That's great. Wow. What a story.
Yeah.
What a story. I just told her, I said, I there was so much I wanted to ask and so much I wanted to say, but her story was so powerful.
Yeah, it's like, how do you go back and rehash it?
Right. Yeah, I don't know. I'll have to listen to, to her speak again and write down some questions.
Yeah. Well, I was just touching on the fact that yesterday we were praying for several infants in different situations. And I was just mentioning that there was an update last night. I don't know if you saw it on Facebook, but there was an update about Abram's situation, and that, let's see, he was taken off all added forms of oxygen yesterday, and other tubes were taken out as well. And they've moved him to a different unit. So things are going okay there. We'll continue to pray for him and the family and everybody, because there's still a lot of stress involved there.
Right.
They're staying down in Indy or a number of them are staying at the Ronald McDonald House there, adjacent to the Riley Children's Hospital there. We got a bit of an update about Jessie's condition yesterday. She's back at home. She is not the medicine to help the baby isn't helping her. So her condition continues to be a challenge, and we're praying that they can make it another couple of weeks to get closer to term.
Right, and the goal there is to let the lungs develop enough that they can work on their own.
And not have to be in a neonatal, I guess, on a longer basis for that development to take place. But then, I mean, it's interesting that all these things, the circle that these things are revolving in right now. Mm-hmm. Because then yesterday afternoon, I think I was at home. It was last evening. And we had mentioned the fact that our friend Rose, her daughter Michelle, had gone into labor, or her water broke Sunday night.
Right.
And it wasn't, the timing of things wasn't working out right. She wasn't ready to deliver. I think you had mentioned that when we talked about it briefly on Monday, that you weren't sure that she'd actually gone into labor. There's some fine lines there that that I don't necessarily completely understand. But anyway, there was an update Monday morning-ish that they were waiting for her to dilate
to progress,
more, to be able to deliver. And then received a text yesterday evening that said the baby didn't make it. And so we continue to pray for Rose and family there, and had the opportunity to meet. I know Michelle, met Michelle, know her sister, met her sister, I should say, know her sister's husband, Dennis. So Courtney and Dennis. And there's a lot of stuff in that in that family there, and we know that. And what I shared with Dennis when I met him a few weeks back was that because of this experience that he and Courtney had that I use the term oddly, but it's not appropriate, that God had uniquely positioned them where they were with their experience, that only they could relate to what Michelle and I believe Jonathan was the father's name.
Yep.
And so in a situation where they had dealt with very difficult circumstances themselves, Dennis and Courtney, that is, God had put them right there. They're both faithful people. I know they've been challenged, and having gone through banquet, I think it was a great opportunity for them to sort of refresh and refill and recharge, because they're certainly in a challenged situation. But now they have that opportunity to minister to sister/sister-in-law, so we continue to lift them up in prayer. It's a difficult situation, and again, I don't say we lift them up in prayer and God's comforter and all this stuff just to try to be Pollyanna and rose-colored glasses. I just honestly believe as we were talking with Kelly, there's only one place you can turn at some point where you're going to get any sort of comfort in that situation, if you can find comfort at all. But in the long term, I think it'll be there for him. There's zero explanation. There's nothing that anybody can say was, here's why this happened, or here's what you're supposed to learn from this. But absolutely, the fact that someone can completely relate to their situation.
Right. And
at least they have that person in their lives.
right.
And hopefully this will not, turn them away. Like we were talking about, when you're facing a terminal condition, you can run and be angry from God or with God, or you can turn to Him and ask for that support.
I think it's important to note, though, that even when you're turning to Him, when you're dealing with things that are that big and that heavy and that painful, you still feel
absolutely
weighted down, and you still feel pain and grief and sorrow. And, I feel like it's always my job to call out that we don't stop emoting as Christians. And, I want to encourage people out there. And I hope that people out there are encouraged by the stories that we share and are blessed that there are people who have the courage to share their stories and give a name or a face to things like cystic fibrosis or miscarriage or whatever it is that you're struggling with, if it's depression or, financial struggles, that you're not alone. You're not alone. We may not know your name or your address or your church or your tribe, but we all have, there's a similar thread running through each one of us, and we all have struggles. They appear in different ways and in different pictures, but we all still have struggles. And I just hope that people are encouraged by those that come forward and are courageous enough to share their name, that they can put a face to these things, that other people are encouraged by that.
Yeah, and that was my point of saying this. I'm not trying to be Pollyanna or looking at life through rose-colored glasses. There's still the pain. There's still the immediate stuff that you're living in. We're still human.
Exactly.
At the end of the day, we're still wired to have certain reactions and issues with things, but if we continue to turn to things in the world thinking that that's going to be the way to get us through, short of, again, someone who can truly understand. We've talked about this in the office, and we were talking about some of the issues with, we were talking about the Lazinski family, things that they were going through. It doesn't make it easier in the moment, but people who have gone through that can relate and can connect on a level that, when you were going through it, whatever number of years prior, you thought whatever could come out of this. And then when you can be that person to say, I do know what you're going through, and it's not easy, and it's not going to be easy, and there's going to be, for whatever circumstance you're going through, there's going to be recovery time, there's going to be mourning time, there's going to be times where you wake up in the middle of the night and go, what the heck happened? And so those aren't, we're still human, as you say there. And so, but to know that there are people who can be there, whether it's a family, a church family, the larger tribe, as they use that term, we're not designed to go through it alone.
Right.
And I think that's one of the things that I have learned, and what we try to talk about here. We do bring examples of things that people go through. Justin's situation, Jim Norris's story that he shares, and I see parallels in the mental approach to the way Kelly has talked about it and the way Jim talked about it. I mean, it's not whatever God's going to do with this, let it be for His glory and His story, she said. So thanks very much for Kelly for coming in and sharing. And again, we continue to lift up Rose and Michelle and Dennis and Courtney and Jonathan as they work through the happenings of the last 24 hours and know that it's going to be a bit, but we just lift them up and hope that God can provide some level of comfort in a very uncomfortable situation. As I mentioned, Jim, we continue to lift up Jim and the Lazinski family. Jim Norris, and Jim's not part of the Lazinski family now. Darren and Tiffany, we continue to pray for Jen and Jen's family and all the things there. Kiefer, Merlin, both who are recovering and preparing for surgery. Bobby adjusting from his return from Iraq. Tim, friend of ours from Banquet. Janine, your friend Cindy's sister Teresa, and Cindy, who's on vacation.
Oh, no.
That may not mean
Go,
much
Cindy.
to people out there.
It's huge for Cindy.
Yeah, that's...
She stayed here a little while. Came in yesterday.
Yeah, what was that?
On
I'm on
vacation.
vacation. What are you doing here? That's like when I was off last week and I popped in for a second. What are you doing here? You're not supposed to be here. Praying for Lindsay and her family. Elise's brother. As we mentioned, Abram. He's kind of penciled down a little further on my list, but Abram and the Jones
Abram
family.
Jones.
Yep. Riley and family spread all over. I did mention on Facebook, it may mean Jackie never goes on vacation again.
Oh,
because
poor Jackie.
I can't imagine her,
Oh,
like,
gosh.
the baby's born and then she goes on vacation and then all this stuff happens. And so
Yeah.
she's out there. So that knowing that family,
Yeah,
as close-knit as it is,
I'm sure
that
it's
had to have been
challenging
very
for her.
difficult. So hopefully that doesn't scar her ability to vacation
travel.
going forward.
We miss you, Jackie.
Yes, we'll look forward to catching up with her hopefully next week. We continue to pray for Jesse and an unborn baby, Becky and Sean, and some of their struggles that they're going through maritally. Is that Kim? You had
Yes.
Kim to that list?
Yep.
Frank's daughter Beth, or Bethy, I think you call
Bethy.
her. Bethy, she's recovering from an ankle injury, and I think that's all that I had. Am I missing anybody that you can think of?
I have a running prayer list in my head that is probably a mile long.
Yeah, I know. I'm that way too. I'm like,
and I have.
remember it's like, oh, that's right. Those people.
I
too.
did just recently take down all the Post-it notes above my my sink, my kitchen sink. I have these short cabinets, and they're just were covered with Post-it notes full of names because it's a place that I spend a lot of time and being visual. As I'm washing dishes, it gives me an opportunity to pray for people. So I could give you a list, that would take 5 minutes to cover. I think that everybody out there, everybody listening, and those that maybe even more so that are not, we all need prayer. So if we can just do, I don't want to say a generic prayer because it's not, but if we
the
just
general audience.
There you go.
We'll cover everybody. Also, you mentioned that visual thing. Tiny invited me over for lunch after church on Sunday for some soul food.
Awesome.
My first experience with true
Did you have greens?
soul food. I had greens.
Yum.
And,
Yum.
And he used turkey in the greens and such. But it was awesome. It was really cool. It was awesome for him to do that. But he has little visuals all around his, positive reminders to keep him on track. Every place you turn in his apartment, there's a word, or there's a picture, there's this or that. And he was rattling. He's like going through the room, like all around his apartment, where there's just like there's a picture here, or there's this word, and he rattled off all these words. There was always encouragement or lifting up or whatever it might be. And so he just said he can't. If he's down, he can't
Help
avoid it, right? I mean,
exactly.
you have to deny it, which then causes a whole nother
Set
issue.
of
But to
issues,
look,
right.
right? But
Right.
just to kind of glance around and see a picture of Jesus here, or a picture of an important person in his life over here, or a word or a series of words. He was talking about when you were talking about your kitchen cabinets, guys. Kitchen cabinets just covered with, reverence and intentionality and inspiration and hope and all these different words, and so it's those things that we do to continue to lift ourselves up. So
Right.
thanks
Well,
for
there's
sharing that.
there's an onslaught of media. There's this barrage of information coming at us 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And it struck me from a very young age, the things that became significant and that I remembered as a child growing up, because I am visual. So I remembered this one particular poem that was in the hallway and what it said. And it was all about, if children learn what they live. If they live with such and such, then they grow up with, this other trait or things like that. And so that stuck with me all the years. And of course, I went through my own journey, but realized that when I had children of my own, that I wanted to, I wanted their memories, their visuals to be positive ones. And so I was very purposeful about placing things and encouraging words and stuff like that. So now I do that for myself as well.
There you are. Excellent. Well, Good day today.
Yes, it was really nice to have a guest. We were very
well,
blessed to meet
So I
Kelly.
said we had had several people scheduled, and I didn't even know that Justin had closed the gap. So thanks for
that's
Justin.
awesome. Thank you, Justin.
Yeah, I had this thought. I was trying to get here earlier on the chance that he had gotten it done, and I was thinking, oh man, I hope I get there on time. And then I can't remember what happened this morning. It threw me off. I was actually like running on time, like not mine on time, but like regular time on time. So, but still found a way to be a few minutes late. This is a complete departure from everything. Before we pray, this will impact people, and I had not heard this.
Uh-oh.
And so it impacts me. And there's a road closure that people want to know about. I guess they're getting ready to start building a new bridge across 49 on Vale Park /400 North. It's where they just finished that roundabout on Silhavy, right? And that roundabout's at 400 there as you're going up. So it's now going to be closed east of the roundabout to 49, and then on the other side of 49 all the way to like Bart's Road. Or that there's going to be a detour. So if you live in the area, obviously you can get in. But there's, to me, some irony in finally finishing a roundabout that now
It's
you're not going to be able
closed.
to use. I mean, you'll be able to use it to go straight on Silhavy, but you can't go east on Vale Park. It closed today.
Oh.
So I just saw something pop up on it, and I thought I'd share that because that's news to me, and I would have been quite unhappy had I, made the trip that way to go someplace and now not get detoured around the way. There's not any shortcuts through that. That's either you got to go south all the way back down to LaPorte Avenue to get to 49, or you got to go north to 500. So
Thanks
plan
for
accordingly.
sharing. Right.
Yeah. So
That's
I
how I
guess
head out
good
to the
thing
beach
soccer.
usually.
Well, you can get. Oh yeah. So you can you have to go out on 49 earlier.
Yep.
But you
Duly
can
noted.
still go north on Silhavy. The roundabout will be open north on Silhavy, south on Silhavy, but you won't be able to go east on Vale Park to get on
Over
49.
to 49.
Which I get our little soccer league plays soccer out at Washington. No, what's it? Yep, the Washington Faith Evangelical, right there on 400, wherever it is. It's just past Bart's Road on 400. So thankfully, they waited till soccer season was over. That was nice of them to do that. 'Cause
I'm
that
sure
would have
that
been
was
a
their
pain.
goal.
I'm sure that was.
Just
it was
for you.
They looked and they said, "Oh well, let's wait another week so that soccer season will be over." Anyway, that just be prepared for that because I'm sure I will forget it multiple times between now and December.
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 Yes.
Yes.
Yikes.
Yes.
Wow.
Yep.
Okay. We
So
need to pray.
plan ahead.
Yeah.
Anyway, so thanks for listening. Thanks for Kelly coming in, and we will we'll spend a moment in prayer. Heavenly Father, thank you so much for the people that you allow us to know and the stories that they can share. As I was, getting kind of excited about myself being able to walk, here you share a story of a person who shouldn't be able to be here, who's running every day, and not just running physically, but running spiritually. We thank you so much for the opportunity to know Kelly and know her story, and know what a great testament she is for you on a daily basis, or a testimony for you on a daily basis. We lift up the names that we share, those that we haven't shared, those that we don't know, but certainly need to know you more closely, and to be that person closer than a brother that can provide comfort where no comfort can be found, peace in a situation where there otherwise shouldn't be peace. That said, we know that there are people who are hurting today, and that's real. It is in the moment. It is who we are, where we are. But don't let it break them. And we just pray that they'll be strengthened by you to work through this, and know that someplace in all this stuff that we are swimming in, you have a plan that, I can't say that it makes sense, but because it's beyond my comprehension, but someplace you have a plan for it. And we just We just pray for the strength and the steadfast commitment to you to not be taken out, taken down, or broken by the immediate, but to know that you are the ultimate healer. We pray all this in your Son's name. Amen.
Amen.
My computer timed out.
It's tired.
I hadn't checked on it. I usually bump it at some point so it doesn't bump me off. So
We need something powerful and energetic, some Heath McNeese to start the day.
I don't know if I have Heath handy. Let's see. Waiting to even see what I have at all. Let's see.
I can hear you clicking
I'm
frantically.
clicking
over
down
there.
trying to figure out where I am.
You're right here at WITW.
I'm going to start this. This is Mercy Me. Maybe not exactly what you're looking for, but it's the answer to what I just said. It's their latest song called The Hurt and the Healer. It's the point where the hurt and the healer collide. And some powerful lyrics in here. I put it up on as our closing song, I think, a couple weeks back at church. There's actually, it was the introduction to Ian's message he shared, where we tend to sometimes hang in our brokenness. And he doesn't want us there. He's got us something there. So
Well, that was pretty.
I was trying to
broken.
get past that. I thought I could hold it back, but it caught me. Anyway, hope everybody has a great day. Thanks for listening. We will be back tomorrow with Frank. I believe that's the plan. Thanks. Have a great day, everybody.
Happy Tuesday.
Question that is never far away, but healing doesn't come from the explained. Jesus, please don't let this go in